I picked a soft name and a ribbon icon because it looked like fundraising, like empathy you could buy in bulk. I joined the local missing person groups in my area. Not the big ones where you disappear in noise. The ones with a few thousand members where everybody knows the same 6 back roads and the same 3 cops. I started liking posts, sharing flyers, doing the little digital nods that say I'm one of you. Then I typed, "I'm here if you need to talk," and I waited. People DM fast when they're desperate. They don't ask for proof you're real. They don't check your friends list. They don't care if you have a life. They just want a witness to their panic. They hand you addresses, gate codes, routines, the school pickup time, the shift schedule, the park where they leave candles, the aunt who can't handle it, the cousin who won't shut up. They send photos they never posted, bruises, last selfies, screenshots of texts, a kid's bedroom wall, a license plate they swear they saw, the inside of their garage because maybe he came back for his bike. They dump everything because they want one person to care, one person to not scroll past. I saved it all. I copied it into notes. I made little folders with names and dates like I was building cases. I looked at their houses on maps. I spun Street View and counted steps from mailbox to door. I checked where the back fence met the woods. I checked their trash day because people mention it without thinking when they complain the truck woke the baby. I'd sit there with my phone in one hand and a bowl of cereal in the other, and I'd know more about a stranger's street than I knew about my own neighbors. The groups fight constantly. Someone says the cops are useless. Someone else defends the cops because their brother's a deputy. Families accuse exes. Exes accuse families. Mods beg people to stop posting minor schedules. Then the same parents post the schedule again because more eyes. I stayed calm in public. I wrote the kind comments. I told people to be respectful. Privately, I'd DM the loudest ones and tell them I understood. I'd tell them their anger was valid. They'd open up even more. It was like watching a lock click. At first, I told myself I was just watching. It wasn't like I was driving to their houses or touching anyone. It was screens and typing and scrolling. That's how you make it feel clean. But then the information started piling up in my phone, and I got this itch. All that raw detail, all that trust just sitting there. I wanted to do something with it. Not to help, to see what it did when you turn it back on them. So I started sending letters. No return address. 1 sheet. 2 sentences. I never threatened. I never said I had their missing person. I didn't have to. I just dropped facts back into their lap. The kind of facts that make your body go cold because they're too close and too specific. The father's work boots, scuffed on the toe. The mother's car dent near the taillight. The little brother's backpack patch. The candle they kept relighting on the porch, even after the wax ran down the railing. Stuff they didn't think anyone noticed because they posted it inside all the bigger screaming. The letters weren't hard to write. 2 sentences sounds simple until you realize you can do a lot of damage with 2 sentences if the sentences are true. I'd pull up their old posts and pick one detail they thought was invisible. The brand logo on the dad's polo when he held a flyer. The sticker on the mom's bumper in the driveway shot. The patch on the kid's backpack strap, half peeled. I'd type it, print it, fold it clean, and seal it like I was sending a thank you card. I started keeping a running list of good details, stuff that landed hard without crossing into anything that looked like an actual threat. The first family I picked posted like breathing. The mom wrote updates every couple hours. She posted the cross street where her kid was last seen. She posted the route the kid always walked. People warned her. She argued back, said she didn't care about privacy. She cared about her child. Watching her fight in the comments felt like standing too close to a fire. I waited until a quiet morning. Then I mailed the letter. Within a day, she posted about it. She held the envelope up in a photo like it stank. She wrote that someone knew things about their house. The comment section turned into a brawl. Half the group screamed to call the police. A few idiots said she was making it up for attention. One woman snapped that at least her kid wasn't confirmed dead, so she should stop whining. The mom lost it in the replies. A mod threatened to lock the thread. I sat there refreshing, heart hammering, like I'd bet money on a fight and was watching the punches land in real time. They went to the cops. The cops told them it was probably a troll. That line showed up again and again in the updates. Probably a troll. Probably a bored kid. Probably nothing they can act on because there was no direct threat. The mom wrote that the detective basically told her to lock down her socials. So she did, sort of for a day. Then she posted again because she couldn't stand the silence. She posted more details, trying to set the record straight. She posted a new photo of the porch vigil. She posted the time they'd be there. I watched her do it like a person touching a hot stove twice, 3 times, because the pain at least proved she could still feel something. I kept going. Not every day, but enough that she started to unravel. One week I described the father's boots. Next week I described the scratch on their front door frame. Another time I mentioned the little brother's backpack and the exact spot he left it when he got home. Each letter was small, clean, polite. That was the sick part. It felt like manners, like I was just tapping someone on the shoulder. The dad started demanding people in the group, demanding to know who knew their car, who had been near their house, who was watching their kid. He got into arguments with strangers who were trying to help. People started blocking each other, accusing each other of leaking info. The grief didn't just sit there anymore, it snapped at anything that moved. The group started making posts about the letter person. People compared envelopes. People talked about fingerprints and cameras. A guy with a Punisher logo said he was going to sit in his truck with a bat and catch whoever it was. Women in the comments begged him not to escalate because we don't need another tragedy. The mods pinned a warning. Don't accept DMs from new accounts. Don't share addresses. Don't share routines. Everybody agreed for about 12 hours, then went right back to oversharing because panic has a short memory and a long mouth. Once, someone accused me directly in the comments, said my account was too new, too nice, too eager. It was some aunt who'd been around forever and hated everyone. She wrote this rant about predators who feed on grief, about sick people who lurk and collect. The group tore her apart for being negative. She deleted her comment. A few people messaged me apologizing on her behalf. That's when I realized how safe I was. I could hide inside their need to be a community because admitting someone like me existed would mean admitting they were handing out knives by the handle. A week later, I saw the mom go live from a search. Phone held in a shaky hand, boots crunching gravel, volunteers lined up like a funeral procession. She kept thanking people through this tight, angry smile. At one point, she turned the camera too far, and you could see her front door behind her, the same door I described. She didn't even notice she'd just shown the whole world exactly where she stood. The comments were hearts and prayers, and also strangers telling her to check the river, check the woods, check the boyfriend, check the dad, check herself. Someone asked if she'd heard anything from the letter person, like it was a fucking weather update. The mom slowed down after that. Her posts got shorter. She stopped putting locations. She stopped answering questions. She started writing, "Thanks for the support," like she was a customer service rep. Then she went quiet for 2 days, then 3. People in the group got angry at her for disappearing, like she owed them updates, like her kid belonged to the timeline. I sent one more letter. I didn't even have to think about it. My hand just did it. 2 sentences. Facts. No threat. After that, she locked her socials and stopped posting updates. A week later, someone posted a funeral notice. No details. No comments. I stared at that notice longer than I want to admit. I tried to tell myself it wasn't because of me. I didn't make anyone vanish. I didn't pull a trigger or shove a body into water. I just watched. I just wrote. But I also know what it does to a person to feel watched while they're already breaking. I know what it does when strangers argue under your missing kid's face, and someone proves they can reach right into your house without ever stepping on your lawn. I didn't stop. That's the confession part people don't like in stories. There's no lesson. There's no neat ending where I delete the account and repent. The groups kept filling up with new flyers, new parents, new candle photos, new please share, and my ribbon icon kept blending in like a church sticker. I still sit in those groups and type kind words. Nobody blocks me. Nobody knows I use grief like a vending machine. A torn hoodie lay in the ditch behind the bar, half covered in mud. I kicked it, saw the inside tag, saw the stitched name like it belonged to a kid at summer camp. I'd seen the missing poster at the gas station. Same first name, same age, same photo with the crooked smile. I didn't wonder or suspect. I knew. The poster had been taped to the door by the ice machine, right where you have to stand and wait while the clerk pretends not to see you. The paper was already wrinkled from people touching it. I remember the mom's number at the bottom because I caught myself reading it twice, like that would help. Then I bought my smokes and left and didn't think about it again until that stitched name hit me like a fist. That ditch sat 10 steps from the back door, where everyone went to smoke and piss and talk shit. The security light back there was busted, so the shadows stayed thick. Inside, the bar was loud and sticky and full of guys who loved to hear themselves. I just mouthed off at one of them for getting handsy with a waitress. The bouncer told me to take a walk before he threw my ass out. So I ended up outside, pacing behind the building, trying to bleed the anger. Then my boot nudged that cloth and everything shifted. I leaned down, heart thumping. I looked left, right? Nobody. Just the dumpsters, the fence, the hum of traffic. The ditch was full of cigarette butts and broken glass. The hoodie looked wrong there, like it hadn't been dumped with the trash. It looked dropped. I grabbed it with 2 fingers like it was shit. The fabric felt heavy and cold. Mud clung to it in sheets. Something knocked inside the pocket. I checked because my brain wouldn't stop. I found a cheap bracelet, plastic beads, grimy like it had been dragged. I found a bus pass, corner torn, a date punched out. My stomach did that slow drop. The date wasn't old. It was recent enough that my mind started counting days without me trying. My first move was automatic. Phone out. I even opened the dialer. Then I froze because the next part was just as automatic. Me getting pinned to a wall by uniforms while they decide what story they like. If I called it in, cops would ask why I was behind the bar at that hour. They'd ask if I bought drugs. They'd ask if I saw anything else. They'd pull my name into it. People love to say, just tell the truth. Those people have never had the truth used like a club. I've been pulled over for a busted taillight and ended up face down on asphalt because an officer smelled something. One stupid charge from years ago follows me like a shadow. It doesn't matter what I do now. I'm always the guy they look at twice. And I was standing behind a bar at midnight holding a missing kid's hoodie. There's no version of that where I come out clean. I could already hear it. Why were you out back? Who were you with? Why'd you pick it up? Why is your fingerprint on it? And while they're asking, they'd be searching my car, my place, my life. The bar owner would shrug and say I'm trouble. The bouncer would say I start fights. Some regular would decide he always had a bad feeling about me. Everybody would hand me over just to be done with it. So I tucked the hoodie under my jacket and walked home with my shoulders up like I was hiding a gun. Every car that passed made me flinch. Every porch light felt like a camera. I kept looking up at the bar's back wall, trying to remember if there was a camera over the door, trying to remember if it actually worked or if it was just there to scare drunks. My jacket picked up mud where the hoodie pressed against it. I wiped it with my sleeve in the stairwell of my building. Stupid reflex, like that would undo the last 10 minutes. At my apartment, I went straight to the bathroom and locked the door. I didn't even take my shoes off. I dropped the hoodie in the tub and stared at it like it could start moving. Under the mud, it still smelled faintly like detergent and sweat. That smell pissed me off because it made it personal. It made it real. I grabbed scissors from a drawer, cheap ones that stick. I started cutting. I didn't do it clean. I hacked at sleeves, then the chest, then the hood. The sound was awful. That ripped through cloth like tearing tape off skin. Mud smeared the white tub brown. My hand shook so hard I kept missing and stabbing air. I kept thinking I'm erasing evidence. I'm helping whoever did this. The thought made me cut faster, like speed could make it less true. My roommate banged on the door, asking what the hell I was doing. I snapped back for him to fuck off. He called me a psycho. He said I always act like the world's out to get me. I didn't answer. I just kept cutting because stopping felt worse. When it was in chunks, I stuffed the pieces into grocery bags. Double bagged, knotted tight until the plastic squealed. I wrapped the bracelet and the bus pass in a paper towel and dropped them in with a cloth. I wiped the tub fast, not perfect, just enough that it didn't look like a crime scene. I shoved the brown paper towels into a separate bag and tied that too, because my brain wouldn't stop doing just-in-case math. I rinsed the scissors. I rinsed my hands. Then I washed them until they stung, like soap could erase the feeling of that name under my fingers. I didn't sleep. I sat on my bed and watched the bags like they might start leaking. I kept seeing the kid's photo from the poster. Crooked smile, bright eyes, like he didn't know the world could swallow him. I opened the tip line on my phone, hovered, and closed it. Over and over. I tried to picture myself talking to a dispatcher and my mouth went dry. Right before dawn, I took the bags to my car. I drove to 3 dumpsters in 3 neighborhoods. One behind a grocery store. One behind an apartment complex where nobody looked up. One behind a strip mall with busted pallets stacked by the fence. Each stop took maybe 30 seconds. Park, trunk, shove, slam, drive. On the last one, a guy walked out to throw trash and looked right at me. Not a long stare, just a glance, but it lit me up inside. I slammed my trunk and drove off too fast, heart banging like I'd robbed somebody. I looped around 2 blocks and watched my mirror until my neck ached. When I got back, I washed my hands until they hurt. I scrubbed until my knuckles cracked. I sniffed my hands like an animal because part of me thought the smell would give me away. It didn't leave my head. Then I scrubbed mud off my shoes with a rag and threw the rag away. I kept staring at my nails like the dirt under them was proof. That night, I went back to the bar like a dumbass because I didn't know where else to put myself. The owner cornered me by the register and bitched about me walking out without closing a tab. I told him I paid. He said if I didn't like his place, I could stay the hell out. The bouncer hovered close, smiling like he wanted an excuse. Then I heard the owner mention, casual, that cops had been in earlier asking questions about anything weird around back. My mouth went numb. I nodded like it was nothing, like my heartbeat wasn't trying to climb out of my throat, and I left without finishing my drink. After that, the town kept talking like it always does. The gas station poster stayed up. More flyers appeared on poles. People inside the bar acted brave and sad in the same breath, saying they'd do anything if they found a lead. A regular told me they were bringing dogs in. Another guy said the kid probably ran off. I wanted to smash my glass into his face for saying it like gossip. Instead, I drank and kept my mouth shut. Someone tried to rope me into a search party, and I said I had work, and they looked at me like I was cold. The bouncer clapped my shoulder and told me to show up for the community. I shrugged him off, and he got pissy, like my refusal was proof of something. I got sharper. I snapped at my roommate over dishes. He laughed and said I was acting guilty about something. I told him to shut the fuck up. That laugh stuck to me. It followed me around the apartment like a smell. The news ran to Mom again. She stood in a parking lot with volunteers behind her and begged for any small lead. She said the kid's first name, and my stomach clenched. She described the hoodie, color, logo, like she was listing pieces of her own body. I turned the TV off and sat in silence because I couldn't stand hearing her voice say the thing I'd cut into trash. A week later, I drove past the bar in daylight and saw volunteers in bright vests walking that road in a line, heads down, scanning weeds. They stepped right past the ditch behind the bar. The same ditch, the same spot. I watched from my car like a coward. I could have stopped. I could have pointed. I could have said a sentence and changed everything. I picture cops, questions, my name, my life. I kept driving. The search parties kept walking past that ditch for weeks. They kept asking for any small lead. I watched them on the news and said nothing. I opened the donation box after the fundraiser and slid the cash into my backpack. I didn't hesitate. I didn't count it twice. I took the stack and left the change like I was tipping myself. It wasn't some movie heist. It was fluorescent lights in the back office of a community center, folding chairs stacked wrong, the stink of old coffee and lemon cleaner. The box was a metal lockbox with a cheap padlock that everyone pretended was secure because it had a key. The key lived in the same drawer as the extra pens and the roll of thank you stickers. Security theater. I was the one who signed up for closeout because I lived nearby and was organized. That's what people said. The truth is I like being the reliable one. I like the nods, the thank God you're here, the way the treasurer would relax when I walked in. I like that more than I like the cause. We'd pulled in more than usual that night. I watched the bills go in all evening. 20s, 50s, couple hundreds folded in envelopes like secrets. I kept thinking, that's rent, that's the car note, that's the late fee I'm about to eat. I kept thinking I could fix my shit with this just once. When the last family left and the volunteers started dragging trash bags, I told everyone I'd take the box to the office and lock it up until morning deposit. The quiet guy from the cash table offered to come with me. I snapped at him, told him I had it, told him I didn't need a babysitter. He didn't argue, just nodded, and I felt judged anyway. We'd already gotten into it earlier about the schedule. He'd pointed out I'd double booked him and then acted like he was the problem. He'd call me sloppy. Not loud, not dramatic, just flat. Sloppy. It stuck under my skin. So yeah, I shut the office door, turned my back to the hallway, popped the lock, and took it. The bills were warm from hands. I shoved them into my backpack like I'd done it 100 times. My heart didn't even race. That's the part that scares me now, the calm. I locked the empty box again, put it back where it belonged, and walked out holding the key like nothing had changed. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and told myself I'd replace it after a win. Not if, after, like it was already arranged. I drove straight to a casino an hour away. I lost it in 90 minutes. Not even a slow bleed. Just bad hands, stupid bets, that sick little sound when the chips slide away from you. I kept thinking the next one would be it. I walked out with a hollow backpack and this cold sweat under my shirt. On the drive back, my brain started bargaining. It told me it didn't count yet because nobody knew. It told me I could fix it. That's how it works. It doesn't scream. It negotiates. I went back the next day. I told myself I was going to win it back. I lost more. Cash advance, fee, interest, and I still kept feeding the table like it could spit my life back out. Stopping meant admitting I'd turned into a thief. So I didn't stop. I kept going because stopping meant looking at myself without a story. The treasurer called me 2 days later. Not angry, just tight. She said the deposit was short. She asked if I counted it before locking it up. I laughed like a fucking idiot and said, of course. I said maybe the bank made a mistake. Then she said, we're gonna have to tell the board. And my stomach dropped. That night after the call, I drove to my apartment and just sat in the car with the engine off. I didn't go inside. I watched my own hands on the steering wheel like they belonged to someone else. I tried to do math in my head, payday, credit limit, what I could sell. I opened my banking app and kept refreshing like numbers would change out of pity. I even went back to the community center after midnight and stood outside the office door, listening to the building settle, like the money might crawl back in if I stared hard enough. The next morning, I hit an ATM before work and pulled out cash I didn't have. I drove back to the casino with that cash on my lap and this stupid, hot certainty that I could still solve it without anyone seeing the rot. I lost that too. I walked to my car, threw up in the parking lot, wiped my mouth with the sleeve of my hoodie, and still got on the highway because I had a meeting to attend where I'd act like a trustworthy adult. When the board meeting got scheduled, the treasurer wanted a full recount of everything from the night. She asked for my timeline like we were doing an incident report. I got sharp with her. I told her she was turning a simple shortfall into a witch hunt. I told her if she didn't trust volunteers, she shouldn't run fundraisers. I watched her jaw tighten. She didn't yell back. She just stared at me like she'd started writing my name down somewhere in her head. That look made me meaner. I mean, people want someone else to bleed first. I was already lining it up. At the meeting, I acted offended. Sat up straight, arms crossed, wounded pride on display. I pulled up photos from the event and pointed at people who looked sketchy. I pointed at a hoodie near the snack table. I said, maybe someone slipped into the office while volunteers were cleaning. I said maybe the lock was cheap. I said a lot of maybes. For a minute, they talked about bringing in the cops, not to punish anyone, just to cover ourselves. That word, cover, hit me like a shove. I nodded along, played the responsible one, even suggested pulling camera footage from the hallway. I knew the camera didn't point at the office door. I checked months ago for a different reason. I sat there offering solutions that couldn't reach me, like I was building a fence around my own lie. The quiet guy was there, sitting along the wall, because he wasn't leadership. Someone mentioned he'd handle the cash table for the first hour. I grabbed that like a life raft. I said, real casual, well, he was literally touching the money all night. The room shifted. You can feel it when blame finds a target. I watched it happen, and I didn't stop it. After, I sent an anonymous email to the board with his name in it. I added one true detail, so it would stick, that he'd stepped away from the table for 10 minutes to take a call. Everybody had seen it. I made it sound like it meant something. I wrote it like I was concerned and just wanted to help. I hit send, and my hands didn't shake. Again, that calm. They confronted him the next week. I showed up late on purpose, so I could watch without being the first one to speak. He stood there, pale, eyes glassy, trying to answer 3 people firing questions at him like he was already guilty. He panicked. He cried. He denied it. He kept saying he had a kid. He wasn't stupid. He'd never do that. He looked at me once like he expected me to back him up, like we were still on the same side. One board member tried to be gentle, which somehow made it worse. Another guy said it was weird that he'd argued with me about schedules, like disagreeing with me was evidence. I watched them build this little story about him in real time because a story was easier than admitting we didn't know. They voted anyway. They fired him and acted righteous doing it. They talked about protecting the mission and zero tolerance like they were heroes. He walked out with his shoulders folded in, like he was trying to take up less space. I stayed seated. I stayed quiet. I let it happen because every second the heat stayed on him, it stayed off me. After they fired him, they sent out this bland email about a staffing change and financial discrepancies. People filled in the blanks. The wife's posts turned into threads. Someone printed them and left them on the break room table at the community center like scripture. I picked one up, saw my own face in an event photo on the page, and my throat locked up. After that, it spread the way gossip spreads in small places. His wife blasted the organization online. Full names, dates, screenshots. People called her dramatic. People called him a liar. People who'd smiled at him suddenly had opinions about his vibe. Not facts, vibes. He lost his kid's school volunteer gig. He lost freelance work. He stopped showing up to places where faces remember you. The coffee shop, the market, the library. Like the whole town became a room he wasn't allowed in anymore. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt hunted by the thing I'd done. I started scanning emails before I opened them. I started rehearsing what I'd say if someone finally asked me straight. I kept telling myself I'd fix it soon, like soon was a place you can actually get to. And I kept gambling. Even with his life burning down, I still drove out to that casino like it was church. I tried to win back money that didn't belong to me so I could pretend I wasn't a criminal. I dug deeper because I'd already dug. I told myself I'd make it right as long as I didn't have to confess first. I kept donating $10 here and there like it washed anything off. A jar on a counter, a friend's fundraiser link, anything small enough to feel painless, like pain was the problem. Sometimes I see him at the grocery store. He avoids my aisle. I don't chase him. I already took enough.